Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ecoffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's episode, I have with me a very special guest, Usman Sheikh. Now, Usman has over 18 years of experience leading large, medium, and startups towards high growth in all things, including planning, strategy, analytics, and marketing. While remaining on the board of Ideagist and working in many industries such as retail, consumer packaged goods, and the oil and gas sector, he recognized a need for brands to be better prepared to reach, engage, and build a stronger customer base leveraging the power of the internet. He started Worx Labs Incorporated with a focus on helping brands with a cause in their digital marketing to help scale them and reach new heights. Over the span of 5 years, Usman has led Worx Labs from a startup helping local small businesses to becoming a global provider of digital marketing solutions with a team of 16 passionate, creative digital experts that continue to serve a customer base in over 30 countries. That is amazing. Usman, thank you very much. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt. Happy to be here.
Hey, yeah, it's awesome. Hey, have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, did you have the bug when you were young, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. I always did want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My dad was an entrepreneur. My dad's dad was an entrepreneur.
Oh, wow.
And something about it resonated with me early on in my childhood, that some reason I had to run my own business. I had attempted it at a younger age. And then as I got older, I just felt like the pull was always there.
Yeah. Well, when did you decide? Like, what was it? What was the defining moment for you? Did you have jobs before, and it was like this rat race 9 to 5 thing's a joke, and I got to start my own business? Or
so that's
how did it come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, having grown up in a household that always worked hard, so our work ethic was always very strong. My mom did 3 jobs, and we were not. At the same time, we didn't have a lot going for us when we started out and when I was younger. But and my dad always worked a lot, but there was always an understanding in the family that you have to work hard. So the work ethic was not the issue. Getting good grades, getting into good schools, it just was expected. Kind of like, hey, you gotta be good. Once we got into the good schools and we were able to graduate, landing a couple of jobs, felt like even though, we were making meaningful impact in organizations, and I worked with large organizations with like one of the biggest retailers in the world, Walmart. I've been working in banking, oil and gas. Your ability to really see the big picture when you're starting out and really make a meaningful impact, where customers win and the stakeholders win, is very limited. So I always felt that, I can do more. So there was that to say, I know some decisions and some bureaucracy is holding us back, and that's going to happen in any large enterprise. But just the ability to make true impact, make a difference in the customers' lives, that's what kind of drove the need to say, hey, I can do this better on my own.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So what motivated you to start Worx Labs then? Was that it? So just the knowledge that you could do it better?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I kind of stumbled upon it again. And, the more I think about it, I didn't know I would be able to get here, to be honest, if that makes any sense. And we would be able to reach as far we've been able to reach, and, knock on wood, keep going. But initially when we started, we attempted a couple of other startups, when I got involved in some other board member work as well, where I got exposure to other initiatives, and it didn't pan out. But what I learned quickly was, hey, I'm really good at marketing, and I'm really good at customer relations. And it just, once that became, known, I just offered my support to a couple of friends and family that were struggling in their business. And it turned out, we were able to make a very quick, meaningful impact in their brand growth. A business that was struggling with our digital marketing support that I kind of did in the evenings after my corporate life. Then translated into them having wait lists and expansions. And they're like, what else can you do? What else can you do? So, and then over time, it's like the next thing you know, it's like I'm making as much money as I'm in my corporate world as a senior director at a large organization, as I'm doing something in the evenings, and I realized,
That's amazing.
And then even then, at that stage, I actually didn't quit and transition into it full time. I was still like, hey, this isn't. We're not there yet. So I kept hiring people and kept getting accounts, whether it's a sales team.
Oh, wow.
For 4 years. So I did 2 jobs, consulting, teaching, and kept building the brand, kept getting accounts, kept bringing the right specialists on the team until we were like, okay, now I can afford to come on full time, and I can afford to pay myself and still support my 3 kids. So, but it took time. It took dedication.
Yeah. So what were some of the hard decisions you had to make to get where you are today? For instance, obviously working 2 jobs like that, but was there other hard decisions you had to make in order to grow your agency?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, definitely, us initially, some of the hardest decisions for me was being able to say no to good people, where we just couldn't help them with the services that we're looking for. We had to, specialize and say, hey, we're only going to be able to do digital marketing. But you can do finance as well, or you can do operations. You've done that for organizations. I'm like, yeah, but if I spend time doing this, then I won't be able to scale the business in this operation. So to be able to say no and create that niche where we're only focusing on certain subsections or sub elements of functionalities within digital marketing, that was a hard thing, because as a business that's growing and that's looking for revenue, and especially in a startup phase, your ability to say no becomes very difficult, and that was a tough decision where we had to walk away from customers, or we had to say, hey, you know what, we can't offer this service anymore. We have to specialize. We'll help you transition to another company that we work with. They're really good, but if you want this service, stay with us. And that's really what was tough for the first 3 months. But it really helped us scale and really helped us focus.
How did you develop your process? See, it's one thing to know about digital marketing, but it's another thing to be able to take what you know and put it into a system of processes that not only can you execute to get results for the clients, but also teach staff members that you hire. How did you develop that in order to be able to scale? What was your process behind it, and your thoughts?
Yeah,
so making that happen.
That's a great question. So in the first 3 years, we didn't have a lot of processes, to be honest. We were kind of trying to figure ourselves out. First 2 years, we were like, okay, we'll try social media. We'll do this. We'll do that. And so we started saying, hey, we can't do all of this. We have to get better and go deeper into a handful of them. And once we realized what we were really good at and we were really passionate about and we could make a big difference with, we started, automating some of the workflows. At that point, our core team was with us, was there for 3 years. We've been working together. So a lot of the knowledge was there. So we just started documenting. And then as we brought in more staff members, more specialists, everybody kind of knew. We developed something called the onboarding phase, and then the customer delight phase, and then the quarterly meeting decks and the reporting and the documentations that allow everyone to know, hey, if it's a design project and if it's a big one or if it's a small one, what are the steps involved? What are the communication protocols? Who's the person to reach out? Everybody knew the functionality and roles and responsibilities. That happened after the second, into the third year.
Yeah.
And then I think having regular around the world meetings, and that's what we call it because we have clients all over the world.
Yeah, I saw that. That's neat.
And so we once a week, we would have something that we internal to Worx Labs, we call Around the World, where we look at each client and each initiative. And I have a laundry list of all the activities that are there. And we would just air out, hey, this is what needs to be done for this one. Oh, this hasn't been addressed. And it allowed for open communication and understanding priorities. Between that and the documentation, it just really helped streamline some of the communication and delivery. That's really it. It just comes out project management and documentation.
What were some of the services that you realized you weren't good at that you decided to turn away? Did not fulfill?
So we dabbled in a lot of things. We dabbled in augmented reality app development. Yeah, so we did custom app development and custom app solutions. You know, it was definitely out of the normal scope of what marketing is. Digital marketing is a vast field. You know,
for sure.
And there's a lot of areas of specialty, and we were kind of saying, hey, maybe this is something we want to enjoy, and we found that, you know, those areas is something we did it, we delivered, we spent a lot of time learning them and executing them, and we probably could have refined them, but it's something that, you know, we felt like it was too more technical, less marketing, and we say, hey, we're marketers, and that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to help brand leaders, business leaders, or business owners become good at marketing or use our marketing support to grow their brand. And that meant, you know, social media, search engine marketing, because SEO is becoming more and more tricky over time. We've got even design, custom development, but within the website and brand development and video marketing. Those are the key pillars that now surround us. Everything from technical custom app development, or advanced strategy formulation that businesses do come to us for. We usually say, oh, no, that's not us. We can definitely want to, if you're at a point where you're ready to build your brand, we'll help you refine it. We can do your brand development, brand personality, tonality, other assets, what have you, and come up with a custom brand package, and then help you market it digitally in these channels, in these formats. Anything beyond
help you to grow
out of home, or if you ask us to do media buys offline, we're not specialists in that. We don't know how to do it. And there are agencies and businesses that support with that, but we're not them. And
so do you create strategic partnerships with those entities, those companies to be referral partners?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've done that in time and again, and we've worked with a whole bunch of different agencies over time where, they come to us, and sometimes they pass on work where they've been very happy sharing some of their partners with us, and same thing with us, the other way around. So where we say, okay, if you're really looking for good strategy development, I know a really good consulting firm. They'll help you first create that focus. Once you've done that and you need to actually refine and build those brand assets, and you know what your vision is and your market, then we help you get there. A formulation of how to scope out a market, what to go after, who's the customers. That needs to be defined before the marketing and brand building activities can kind of take shape.
Okay. So you mentioned branding. How important is it, branding for a business to business company? Like a B2B company, how important is branding?
B2B especially, it's huge. I mean, right now, there are so many B2Bs, especially in the service space. There's so many B2B services out there. There's a right way to stand out, and there is an efficient way to stand out. And it's not to say that there's no competency in the organization or the ability to deliver good results in a B2B organization that isn't doing good branding. The one that does great branding takes a cake, right? And the reason is because they know who this audience is, they know who they're speaking to, and they know how to get in front of them. And once they do that, that's when the magic happens. Your ability to keep your sales pipeline full, your ability to keep your customers' retention and loyalty there, all of those play a huge factor in great branding.
So what is a lot of people get confused with what is a brand and branding and so on and so forth. Like, what makes up a brand? From your experience?
That's a very
complicated question, but for some people watching, I mean, maybe they're saying, well, what is he talking about? So that's what I'm trying to get at.
No, there's lots of definitions out there for what exactly is a brand. And, there's not one exact science. And I've read a million branding books. In fact, I'm doing a course right now that I'm going to be deploying out at our organization, as a series of courses where we're going to be talking about what brand development is. And branding is really your ability to define your identity in the organization, of who you are and how you do and what you believe in. It is, for me, for example, I wear glasses, I'm wearing a dress shirt, how I carry myself, what my values are, what my, personality and tone is. That is defining a look, personality, and a feel that a customer see across. And that is what branding is. That is what the brand development is. Marketing is going to the right parties. It's going to, going to the right areas where your customers hang out and speaking their language and talking to them, looking to get engaged and build those relationships. That's what marketing is. You can't go there if you don't have the right branding in place. For example, you can't go to a party, a formal party, without a tux. You can go in cargo pants, but you won't look the part and you won't be able to get the right way to resonate with them. So, that defining of what that brand is, what the personality is, who the customer is, and what the value system of that company is what branding is all about.
So I guess it comes down to, like, for instance, that you mentioned so many things that brought to my mind. Like, for instance, the way you and I look and dress. We want to portray a certain persona and a certain level of impression upon people that we meet. Like, I tend to dress very business casual for these interviews, and I think it's appropriate. So in that essence, taking that to what you're talking about for businesses or B2B, or I'm going to ask you about local businesses in a minute here. But what comes to my mind is the development of a logo that is professional, not some, like, I've seen a lot of crappy logos in my life that I can't even believe that the business even made money with that portrayal of a brand to the public. Or even I've seen business owners that have operated for over 10 years without a logo. And I'm like,
that's true as well.
I'm like, wow, how did you, like, am I just full of crap in what I think about marketing? Because you've built a business with nothing, and I applaud you. But, like, so the point I'm trying to make without going on is, like, to me, it's a development of a brand in the sense of a logo, maybe even a mascot, maybe even a tagline, even going down to the logo with the colors of what colors you're trying to portray. So would you say those things are make up a brand as well as your assets that you're putting out there, in the sense of your brand identity for, like, even the way the website looks, the pictures you choose, and the social assets you choose, like how your Facebook page looks and what you're going to post? I mean, that's probably all. It's such a foundation that a lot of people skip. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah. So, that's interesting. And now we're really getting to brand development. And I think that's a good question. So, the logo, the front facing out, the client facing, or, the assets that you see, that people see outside, that effectively is really 20 to 30% of a brand, roughly speaking. You talk about logo, the topography, the photography, the color palette, the hues and the tonality, the brand personality, all of those. Actually, brand personality is in the other section, which I'm about to discuss next. But the stuff that you see in the front, where you go on someone's website and you see it, that is, roughly the tip of the iceberg, if that makes any sense. It's the stuff on top, right, that people see from outside. To get there, you can still have a brand without a logo. You can still have a brand without a tagline and things of that nature. The reason for that is because the stuff that makes up the majority of the brand, which is the brand positioning, brand promise and delivery, brand personality, the people behind the brand, that stuff is the core essence of the brand. You're understanding where you are from a marketing perspective, from a market perspective, where your position is, how your price and quality differ in your customer's head, in your customer's mind, relative to your competitors. If you have to do that research, you have to know, relative to your competition, are you a premium brand or are you a lower price brand? And that's okay, if whatever position you to take, but that requires research, that requires understanding the market. And that's part of brand building, right? In understanding what your product offerings are, and your brand hierarchy is, or brand portfolio is. For example, if you look at Apple has a whole host of brands under them. Apple TV, Apple TV, the iPhone, the smartwatch, what have you. It's all under the Apple brand, right? Yeah. That hierarchy is what they chose. Versus if you look at General Motors or another domestic automobile manufacturer here, such as Chevrolet or what have you, or when you look at Chevrolet, you look at I believe they have Cadillac and a bunch of other brands. I think they had Saturn at one point, if I'm not mistaken, and Lincoln as a premium.
They did.
Right, each brand is its own category, and that you actually can't tell that GM owns it. Right,
that's true. A lot of people didn't know.
Unless you really know about the car market or what have you. But they try really hard to say, hey, this is a standalone brand. This is who the customer is. Versus Apple, which says, hey, our parent is associated with that product. Our logo is going to always show up there. And there's a whole host of other strategies that need to be defined and understood, and how you're going to play in this market that you're going to play in, from a positioning perspective, from a pricing perspective, from a hierarchy perspective, on how you're going to cater your solutions and services to differentiate yourself and create that level of distinction, so you stand out in a crowded market. That is the bulk of branding and hard work. That's what brand managers do professionally.
Wow. So how can, excuse me, how do you think branding can help businesses in the digital age?
Oh, that's a great question as well. Branding really helps. If you invest in branding, know who your customer is, what you do differently versus your competition. So your ability to speak and focus on your marketing and sales becomes so much easier. If you don't have that, then you don't know what you stand for. And if you don't know what you stand for, you'll change with whatever flow comes in, whatever the trend is. The challenge with that is you don't know if you're going to be able to grow in the right direction. And branding puts that parameter on what your company is and isn't. And knowing what your company isn't is very powerful to understand what your success looks like. And once you know what your success looks like, then you can really focus on your marketing and sales initiatives.
Okay.
Online and the online world.
So as part of creating a brand, like of what you do, is it also creating a customer persona, or is that part of the other equation that you refer to other businesses, or is creating a persona around, what I mean by a persona is a customer persona.
Yeah. So buyer persona is also part of the development.
The brand development.
Brand development. And it's one of the things we do. We have to know who the customer is in order for us to create the sales collateral or social media messaging or website copy that will resonate. If you don't know who you're speaking to, then at that point it becomes salesy and pushy, or it just won't resonate with your target audience. Knowing and defining your target audience and going into the science behind really understanding psychographic demographics and who they are and what they make up and what their pain points and fears are, the empathy mapping associated with understanding the pain points and where your brand fits in and the personality that will resonate with them is part of the brand development cycle.
Excuse me. Can you give me kind of like a high level overview or of the process of like developing that? For instance, are there certain, let's start with for instance, a persona. Like, is there a tools that you've developed or a strategy or resources that you say, I wanted to develop a brand for a renovation company?
Right.
I'm just making this up, by the way. Like, where do you start?
It's a great question. So it starts first with the business leader, business owner, or brand manager, whoever we're interacting with. We have to give them a question. They have to have a sense of what they want to do, right? We give them a question. Hey, this is the market you want to go after. This is from your perspective, what is your preference in colors? From your perspective, what do you think about your competition, and who are the competitors you want to get inspiration from? There are other folks in other industries that you really like what they're doing that you think will work in your industry. So we get to know as part of the onboarding process what the preferences of the are. As part of the documentation we do to immerse ourselves in the brand building exercise. And then we take those notes and we take that questionnaire and we have our internal whiteboarding session where we meet with our brand specialists, our designers, and our social media copy and specialist. This then helps us ideate in terms of, who's going to do what and how are we going to come up with the brand building exercise. In coming up with a customer profile, we then go to do research using third-party tools, and there's a whole host of them. They provide a lot of insights in terms of where the demand is, who the competition is, and we just start documenting. There's a template that we have internally that we use that has about 3 pages of slides that we look to populate that helps understand what the market is, who the customer is, what the competitors are doing, what the psychographics of the customers are, what is the journey mapping, and what is the empathy mapping exercise. And that is part of us understanding then, hey, given this and given where your competitors are, these are the messaging that you can do to be distinct enough in the marketing. This is given your price point and value equation. This is what you can do in order to use this kind of personality to resonate. And therefore, these are the 2 or 3 buyer personas you should go after in the market to really stand out.
So, for instance, in I was talking about a renovation company. Then, if they want to decide to be, they could either decide to be a high end company or a middle of the road company. Middle, high end price, mid price. I don't think anybody wants cheap renovations. But everybody wants, some
depends. If you're,
that's right.
There may be a market for it. That's where research comes into play. So I can ask them, what's your goal? And they'll say, no, I don't want to take on bigger jobs. I'll take on small jobs.
Yeah,
and if
more of the handyman work,
and there is a market for that. And how to create a brand that resonates versus, you want to do premium real estate and luxury real estate, and you just want to exclusively do that. And so that will help define who's your customer, who's your pain, what are the pain points, what keeps them up at night, and how can your solution help them with their problems, and we help define that. So we do the research, we look at the states or the provinces that they want to operate and be known in, who the competitors are, and we say based on your competitors and what your goal. This is where we think you can do to stand out from a renovation company perspective.
Okay. Well, what are some of the easiest and most effective ways to improve a company's branding in your experience from what you've done so far?
Right. So I think the easiest and the most effective way is, and from a digital perspective, please don't neglect the homepage. You can have a mediocre logo. You can have, overall sluggish website. But if your homepage is slow and it's designed poorly, you're going to get a very unreasonable uphill battle to climb. That is the first impression where most people turn away. Don't neglect that, because that is your ultimate brochure page. That's your sales page. It's the wow element of your brand. It should speak directly to your customer. It should have the right photography. It should have the success stories. It should have your social proof, and it should be backed with good design and insights. Invest in the homepage. You can have other sub pages of your website that are sluggish, that don't have the design, other elements. But if you neglect that element, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because that's where your biggest impressions are going to be formed.
So what are then some of the key elements then on that homepage? You mentioned a couple of them, but for instance, you said a mediocre logo, but what are some of the other key elements? I believe you also said some social proof. What are some other key elements? Testimonials, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. So social proof is part of the testimonial. So the hero header is huge, right? I mean, that hero header, whatever you get, it should wow. That's when you stop them in their tracks. Okay. And once you go ahead and you build that hero header with the right messaging, it should be speaking directly to your customer. It should have a bold statement that's no longer than 7 words. It should have a direct call to action. There should be another call to action right at the top where they can immediately reach you, or another way that they can convert and do business with you. And right below that, there should be some elements of who you are, and you build trust, or where your key value proposition or what your key values are as an organization. And then you get into some of the other elements. If you're a B2B brand, and especially in the B2B area, showcase your customers as heroes. If you're focusing too much on yourself and not your customer, especially as a B2B brand, you're missing them. So showcase your success stories right there in one format, either in a video testimonial or a success story or a case study, and don't keep that away from them, because as a business leader, that's what any other business leader is looking for when they're looking to convert and do business with you. Make it easy. Say, hey, I'm here. I get you. I do amazing work, and check out my success story. You can have that too. And then go through the social proof, add other call to actions that allow them to continue on the journey near the footer, and then have a footer with a bunch of good links that will keep them engaged if they want to stick around more.
Okay. I guess blog content. Would you include blog content? Like
people do blog content. People have a social media feed. We have blog. We had a blog content at our homepage. Recently, you could. It's absolutely doable. It allows for ways to engage. People to keep it on the bottom as well, and the footer as a link.
Yeah.
It depends. What's important is a hero header, and if you're in a B2B area, especially the success stories that give them instant proof and credibility that, hey, we've done this before, and we can do it for you again.
Mm-hmm. Is there any formulas that you recommend for developing that hero content? Such as, I'm thinking off the top of my head, the AIDA formula, like the attention, interest, desire, and action formula for copywriting. Is that
it really comes down to what your goals are. If you have a white paper and you want to direct it to a white paper, or if you want to have a statement that helps you stand out as a brand, that's what it is. Ultimately, attention, your design and your hero headers, photography or background video is the hook. It's the visual eye candy that'll stop them. Say, okay, these guys get me. And then they'll read something more powerful and that copy, and they'll say, okay, wow, they're really speaking to me now. I want to check this out. And it could be white paper. It could be a free giveaway. It could be something that builds trust and barriers.
Some kind of lead magnet or offer that even a consultation, I guess, or I guess that's all based on the research of what the market is looking for. Would determine that is the assumption I'm making. Can you share some examples of businesses that have successfully leveraged branding to grow their company?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, for instance, how you started with local businesses and, got some great success with them. I'm sure there's some examples maybe, or whatever comes to your mind. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We've helped a lot of brands in this space. So I can give a ton of them. So, we built a website. We went through a big rebranding exercise for a very complex engineering brand. It sells very complex per aeration and zero liquid discharge engineering based solutions.
Wow.
For water separation. I can't even pronounce half the stuff. It took us like 6 months to develop this website because the content was so technical and so rich. And, a lot of hours and a lot of good work and effort went into it. And because the website loaded fast, because it was a wow element, because it had the right content, their ability to not only rank on search, but their ability to get leads and because we're tracking those with the conversions and clicks and what have you, has just skyrocketed. And they've been happy. That's one example. We had another B2C direct e-commerce luxury brand that gets Italian handmade accessories from the same place that you get with Gucci. Wow! They're a Canadian brand, and they wanted to create a wow element. So we took and we researched what they were looking for, how they were different from, Gucci versus Michael Kors versus Louis Vuitton, and their premium. This is $600 purses or $1,000 purses, but it's a no-name brand, and it didn't exist in the market. How are they going to create the right impression? And create that instant connection with their target audience. So we studied their target audience. We worked on premium photography with them. We looked at the best luxury designs, and we really created a wow element that helped them look the part. And because of that, they've been able to get so much traction. They're getting more visibility. They're on fashion shows, and because they look the part, and that is part of the brand building journey that we're talking about. If you don't look the part, how are you going to be able to attract the right audience?
It's almost like the foundation.
It is.
But what would you say to businesses that don't have them? Like, because let's be frank, investing in this is not cheap. At least it shouldn't be.
Well, yeah,
so how can a business with a startup or like a local mom and pop shop, like for instance, this may be a stupid question, but I'm thinking of a dog grooming company right now because I tried to help a dog grooming lady like way in the beginning of my marketing career. And her brand was terrible. Her logo was a piece of clip art that you could find on the internet. And it was just, her name was dumb. Forgive me if she's watching this. This is over 10 years ago.
We've all been there.
It's like, how do you, how can someone develop a brand without spending to get started without spending a vast amount of money?
What's a vast amount of money?
Well, I guess, I'm thinking like 30 grand. Probably even more money than that
so it comes down to, for small businesses, they don't need to spend 30 grand. There are solutions and services that we offer that are much less than that. And that can still help a brand really stand out, and so it really comes down to what your goals are and how fast you want to go to the market. There are websites we've done for 80 grand, 120 grand, and there are websites we've done for 10 grand, right? And it comes down to the goals and priorities, what's involved in, from a stakes perspective, and how fast you're looking to grow in the market. So businesses should invest in brands once they have a viable business idea with some sort of traction. If you have retaining customers, repeat customers, you're able to satisfy, and you've got cash flow. If you're not investing in your brand at that point, you're neglecting your ability to scale. That's unfortunate. Because at some point in time, it's going to catch up to you with the ability to really stand out in the market. And you'll find that folks that are investing in it will just look more polished and will appear better, and their ability to scale and convert will be that much better. So that's my recommendation. First, define your business. Go get some customers. Work with the minimal viable product that you have, and you've got cash flows coming. Then take the time to invest in the brand, and then market it as well.
Yeah. Would you say the first thing that a company or business entity should do then I know what I think, but I want to know what you think. What the first thing they came to you and they did that and they were at that stage, like, hey, I have some money. What's the first thing I should do to develop the brand? Thing that comes to my mind is a logo, but is that wrong?
No, logos is part of it, but we developed something called a brand book. A brand book. It has everything from the logo, the color palette, the different variations of the logo, the typography, what the font family it has to be in, the iconography, the language, the personality. That is like a 30 to 60 page book, depending on the photography. That gives you 100% certainty exactly what you can do from a visual perspective, from a statement perspective, from a mission and vision. Then you can take it to anybody else. You can take it to another market.
Absolutely.
You can take it to TV. You can take it to radio. You can apply it to a website. You can apply it in your social media. Everything looks consistent.
Everything.
And consistency is so important in branding and marketing. Is because if you don't have consistency, you're making it harder for your customers to remember you. Imagine today, if your name is this, and then today your name is Matt, and tomorrow you say, "Hey, my name is John." Now it's like, "Oh, I thought you were Matt." Now you're just making it harder for your customers to choose the right colors, reinforce that message, make it simple, and distill it. Customers are marketed and advertised to on a regular basis.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
In order for you to stand out and really be consistent, really be familiar, first you have to build on consistency. And that's why everyone says, hey, you got to be a brand that's consistent, because if you don't have consistency, you won't be able to build familiarity. And when you don't have familiarity, you won't have brand recall. So your ability for your customers to remember you and consider your brand when they're in a solution for your product in the market.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of brand recall. And that's when I think it becomes a little bit more powerful and more magical. So, just don't invest in a logo, invest in a brand book.
In a brand book.
Consistently across. And it's part of the brand building exercise.
Yeah. No, I wish I'd known some of this stuff when I first started out, because I had I went to school and took web media design. I know that's important. But I had a friend from high school ask me she owned a hair salon. Again, no logo. No website, and just said, build me a website, but wouldn't meet with me to discuss all of these things you're talking about, like a logo, what colors, what photos. No, just build us a website. And so that's insane.
It is.
So I eventually gave them their money back. Yeah, I gave them their money back. Because it's like, you won't even meet with me to discuss. And I didn't even know that I needed to develop what you're talking about. But, this was like more than 15 years ago. So the point I'm trying to make is, in talking to you, it's so essential. And maybe for some of our audience and agencies that are watching or listening, of just how important it is, because I've learned so much talking to you, and I didn't even get through half my questions. So I would love to invite you back on the show, but is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked about brands and developing a brand?
No, I mean, I think you've covered up quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's the beauty of brand building and beauty of marketing is, it's a fun exercise.
Yes.
You're really building something that'll stand out, and you're nurturing it, and you're helping it grow and become something bigger. Yeah. It's a great journey. Whatever journey you do take it on, how much effort do you put it in growing your brand or business, enjoy the ride, and then make the most of it. And that's really all I can say. If you enjoy it, I think you're going to learn to cherish. This can be a little bit more cleaner. This could be a little bit more crisper. This photo belongs. And you'll learn that it pays back in tenfold.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Well, hey, like I said, I even just thought of a question just now I wanted to ask you, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to hold it in my head. But would you come back on the show if time permitting? I know this is
absolutely.
I appreciate you. I'd like to talk to you about. Sorry. I'd like to talk to you about consumer brands and how that differentiates, and the other 20 questions that I had that I didn't even get to ask. Hey, I want to thank you. Where can people find out more about you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a website. Check out our website. We make websites. So webworkslabs.com. We just recently did a bit of a update on it. We're very proud of it. I'm working with the team on creating some hype and buzz for our own social media on it and showing some around it. So I like the look. I'm proud of it. Proud daddy. But that's where you can find us. There's a about us section. You'll get a chance to get to know me a little bit more. But I'm on all social media platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We're on Insta, LinkedIn, even Facebook. So if you need to connect, reach out to any of them.
Thanks very much. That's awesome. Hey, again, I want to thank you for being on the show. I'd love to have you back, and just thanks so much for taking time out of your day.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure.